All right, our roads lead to Yah. Today we're going to speak about lifestyles. And our roads lead to Yah is essentially speaking to a lifestyle. A righteous lifestyle. Something that's real strange today. A lifestyle in which Yah is at the center of. A lifestyle in which every aspect, leads back to Him. This is what where we're supposed to be. We're still talking about how the sheep of Yah can become well. We spoke about why they become sick. We spoke about why they remain sick. And now we're speaking about how they can become well. And one of the crucial aspects of how they can become well is by changing their lifestyle to one that's more conducive to Yah's. Lifestyles come in many varieties, such as the rich and famous, the impoverished lifestyle, the ghetto fabulous lifestyle, as well as the unrighteous and righteous lifestyles. But today we're going to speak concerning the good life. For one's lifestyle is just as essential to one's good health as what they eat and drink. So we're going to be speaking about the good life, whereas one eat and do anything. We're not speaking about the lifestyle, the good lifestyle, or living the good life in which one eats anything and does anything that they choose to do. That's not the good life we're talking about. Actually, we're talking about another type of good life. We're talking about living the good life in accordance to the word of Elohim. Most people's lifestyles are built around or centered around their jobs, their needs, their responsibilities, rather than around Yah's laws of nature that govern our bodies. The aforementioned circadian rhythms that we got into last week and maybe the week before are the laws of nature that govern our bodies on a daily basis. They teach us when we ought to rise, sleep, eat, digest, assimilate, as well as what we should or shouldn't eat and drink. When we do right by these laws, our bodies will be blessed, and when we sin against them, our bodies will be cursed. And ignorance of the law is no excuse. Now, the diagram here speaks to the circadian rhythms that our body go through. The circadian rhythm is a biological clock. And it has a daily cycle of physical and mental activity in the body based upon a 24-hour period. The circadian rhythm helps regulate a person's sleep or wake cycle, and is affected by variations in the environment, such as the amount of daylight and the length of night. Scientists have discovered that the organs in our body are just like numerous independent beings with their own internal clocks. In an article published in 2002 of May, issue of Nature, researchers from Harvard Medical School and other research institutes reported an interesting discovery. They discovered that the physiological activities of the body were controlled by the local circadian clocks of the organs. These things can and will affect your body whether you know it or not. It doesn't matter. If you're ignorant to them, they still affect your body as well as your well-being. Now, our bodies are going to respond to these circadian rhythms whether we like it or not. How they will respond, that is favorably or unfavorably, depends directly upon our lifestyles. Yah has mapped out the ideal lifestyle based upon his natural laws. They teach us that we ought to be in bed by 10 during the winter months and by 11 during the summer months to get the maximum benefit from our sleep. Yah's sheeple, we must come to an understanding that there are optimum times to sleep, eat, drink, and work, and oftentimes, if we're going to become well, then our thoughts and actions concerning these things must coincide with Yah's natural law, which is depicted within these rhythms. Now, I refer to Yah's lifestyle as the ultimate lifestyle, for it is the ultimate lifestyle for good health. It's set in motion by Yah, and ultimately it'll work with you or against you. Let's take a look at how an average day of someone who's eating healthily and living the ultimate lifestyle may look. We'll begin at the first thing in the morning, but before we do, I just want to let you know that today is, this lesson is centered around health, but it's based upon a scriptural principle. And the scriptural principle is that Yah is at the center of everything, and He should be at the center of our lives. And it's really more so of a health lecture than a Bible study this week, but it's based upon where we ought to be. And if we are to become well, if Yah's people are to become well, we need to recognize the things that He has put in place, that speaks to how we're to live our lives, that speaks to our lifestyle. Because when He originally set things up, He said these things were very good. And if we were to live our life in concordance with them, then it would also be very good for us. But if we live our lives in opposition to them, it won't be so good. I want us to recognize that Yah has set things in place in His natural law, that is in nature, that speaks to the type of lifestyle that we ought to live. And our bodies go through these rhythms, whether we're working with them or not. And you can just kind of vision, and you're working against, nature as to what can come about. Now, the first cycle is from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And this is a cleansing cycle. For you early birds, during the cleansing cycle, you really don't want to eat a big heavy breakfast. Some people actually get up between 2 and 6. This is not the time you want to have a big breakfast. But this is the time our bodies are going through its natural cleansing cycle. It's actually best if we remain resting during this time, in all actuality. But during this cleansing cycle, our bodies is taking toxins and is bringing it over to the liver, and the liver is processing it and sending it either to phase 1 or phase 2. If it's a fat-soluble toxin, then it goes through phase 1 and goes into the colon, to await elimination. And if it's a phase 2 type toxin, it's sent over to, it's water-soluble, and it's sent over to the kidneys, and, it sits in the bladder awaiting elimination. And if it so happened that one of these passages are blocked or full, then it sends it through the skin. And this is why you get acne and rashes and things of that nature. It's telling you that, one of these are overloaded. Now, from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. is the elimination cycle. Now, many sheep will find that their bowels tend to move during this period. This also explains why many have to use the bathroom when they get up in the morning. Because this is the period in which most people get up. Well, I know some people get up after 12 p.m., but we never count them. Most people get up between 6 and 12, prayerfully anyway, Now, this is why when you get up, a lot of times many people have to go. Therefore, we shouldn't interfere with the work that's being done during this time of elimination cycle. We should only eat light foods for breakfast, such as fruits and maybe even like smoothies, which is kind of a new invention, considering things, So we only want to have something light because we don't want anything to interrupt this elimination cycle. You know, because when the elimination cycle is interrupted, too often, then, you kind of look like this when you sit there, That's not a good thing. So we want to avoid that, by eating fresh fruits, in the morning. Fruits don't sit in the stomach. They just pass right on out. Now, the body needs plenty of water for elimination. Therefore, this is the perfect time to drink your water. In fact, 50% of our water intake for the day should occur within this time period. Drinking your water during this time will assist your body with its elimination efforts rather than hinder it. So you don't have to be, again, looking like this. Now this will also be a good time to work out, for all the fitness gurus. This is a good time to work out. This is, because it would also help assist with elimination. So now, by working out, you're actually working with the body rather than against it. Now, from 12 to 6 p.m. is the digestive cycle. During this time, our bodies are going through its digestive cycle. Taking that into consideration, this is not the time to drink a lot of cold water, for it can interfere with digestion. Now, take note I said cold water, because actually water really won't interfere with digestion per se, but if it's cold water, which is the type of water most people want to drink, then it will. You have to consider that within your stomach, it's not cold in there. It's 98.6 degrees. In your stomach is even hotter than that because you have the HCl, the hydrochloric acid. So you don't want to go pouring no cold stuff on there. So this is not the time to be drinking a bunch of cold water. Now if you want to drink some water, during this time, you drink it, but you drink it in small amounts. Now, it's during these hours that we want to eat our heaviest meals. That is lunch and dinner. But contrary to what we've been taught, lunch should actually be the largest meal of the day and not dinner. Right. If you think about it, it only makes sense if you eat the lunch as the largest meal of the day. Because during the time of the day when during the time of the day when most of y'all sheep are hard at work. So if they were to eat during this time, they'll work a lot of it off. And they would actually, the working would assist with the digestive cycle. So this is a good time. This is a good time to eat your heavy meals. Now, while we're at it, we're going to also address food proportioning. For what most people has been taught lends to the reason why they become ill. Now, when it comes to food proportionment, most have been taught that the largest portion of the meal should be the meat. So you have this nice, big, juicy looking steak there, kind of making me hungry. But this is usually how the average American plate is. The largest thing on the plate usually is the meat, followed by the starch. Here we have the fries, and then you have a little side of veggies. This is not conducive to good health. In fact, the largest portion on our plate should actually be the veggies, followed by the starch, and lastly, a small portion of meat. Now that said, we shouldn't even eat meat after 2 p.m. I know, crazy, huh? But the reason being is because if we reflect back on this, the times of this cycle, it begins at 12 and it ends at 6. If we eat our last meat at 2 p.m., we allow it time to digest. For it takes 3 to 4 hours for the average high protein meal to digest. So if you eat it any time after 2, then it's gonna run over, the digestive cycle is gonna action is going to run over into another cycle. And that's going to slow digestion. You know, so we want to keep that in mind. You know, we shouldn't eat any meats after 2 because it takes about 4 hours to digest meat. So we want to make sure we're digesting when our bodies are trying to digest, when the natural cycle is digesting. You know, we want to work with the body, not against it. We don't want to go into try to make the body digest in the next cycle, which is a simulation. You know, because then it's going to interrupt the assimilation process. You know, and it's going to cause the digestion to take much longer. Now, not to mention the fact that it can cause indigestion. It can affect sleep quality, and it can take a tremendous amount of energy. It does take a tremendous amount of energy, you know, to digest food. And thereby it can prevent one from getting the full benefits of their rest cycle. You know, when you eat late, you know, everyone's heard that it's bad to eat late and go to sleep. But a lot of people do what? Eat late and go to sleep. You know, but you know, now we can equate why it's bad to eat late and go to sleep. You know, because the digestive cycle is over with. You know, this is really, you know, our plates should have more veggies than anything. And this was just such a beautiful presentment, I just had to put it in there. You know, I thought this was so creative. It just blew me away. I thought that was so creative, it was beautiful. Instead of our plates consisting of mostly protein and then secondly starch and secondly veggies actually should have the big place on the plate. Our plates should consist of 60% veggies, 25% starches, and only 15% proteins. You know, so how many of us eat here in America is not conducive to good health? You know, it really isn't. You know, so here it is, you know, we're learning Yah's lifestyle. So we can try to align our lifestyle up with the lifestyle that he initiated, that he put here on the earth for humanity. So keep that in mind. The next cycle is from 6 p.m. through 10 p.m. And this is the assimilation cycle. You know, assimilation is the combination of two processes. There are two processes to supply cells with nutrients. The first is the process of absorbing vitamins and minerals and other chemicals from the food within the gastrointestinal tract. You know, we eat and then it goes into the digestive system, and then absorption takes place, and then assimilation. Absorption is actually a part of assimilation. And the final result is it gets assimilated into the cells. You know, this is done with a chemical breakdown made possible via enzymes and acids made by the liver. And also a physical breakdown via oral mastication and stomach churning. So, you know, many of you heard me say drink, you know, lemon water. You know, well, the lemons is something that your liver can just take and utilize immediately to make, you know, millions or billions of enzymes. And these enzymes, you know, is the very thing that helps the digestive system digest and break down the food. You know, so it's very important, because the liver is like, you know, the most overworked organ in the body. It has 1,000 jobs, you know, and they're all important. It can't stop doing any of them. Okay, so the second process of assimilation is the chemical alteration of substances in the bloodstream by the liver. You know, understanding these things, we should be done with our water intake prior to this time, so that it doesn't interfere with our sleep cycle. We don't want to be drinking our water from 6 to 10 if we can help it, because, you know, then we might be having to get up in the middle of the night and go potty. You know, so we don't want our water waking us up in the middle of the night, interrupting our sleep. because our sleep is important as well, right? Okay, so whenever one eats during this time period, it takes 2 to 3 times longer for the food to digest. So you decide you want to eat late, you're gonna put a stress on your body. It's gonna take where it would have took 3 to 4 hours to digest that meal. Now it's gonna take 8 to 12 hours to digest that meal. So your body's hard at work while you're trying to rest. So you can see you're not getting good rest. Your head may be asleep, but the rest of your body is not resting with your head. So this is something to take into account. If you get hungry during within this period, just have something light. So that it doesn't interfere with the simulation process. Because you're not actually what you eat. I know that we hear that all the time. You are what you eat. Actually, you are what you assimilate. If this process doesn't take place, it doesn't matter what you're eating. You can eat all the best things, all the things that's right for you. But if your body is not digesting these things properly and they're not getting absorbed and assimilated into the body, then you're not getting any benefit from it. See, and a lot of people don't understand it, and they say, oh, I eat good. Yeah, but is your body digesting it? Is it being assimilated into the body? A lot of people don't understand the concept that the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, is not considered inside the body. It has its own separate system. And this is how things that you eat get inside the body, how it gets to the different internal organs. It's through the assimilation cycle. And when your body isn't assimilating what you eat, you may be eating a bunch of good, healthy things, but all you're getting from it in return is some good, healthy poop. Because it's just going to go in and it's going to come back out. Y'all willing, Preferably it's not staying there, but we don't want that. So we need to be aware of these cycles and try to work with them. Let's not be eating during this time when your body's trying to assimilate. If we're going to have something light. Something that's not going to interrupt it too bad. Now, from 10 to 2 or 11 to 3, depending on daylight saving time, as far as the winter months and the summer months, you have the beginning of your deep sleep cycle. Now, this is a big one, because during the winter months it's 10 to 2, and during the summer months it's 11 to 3. Now, we should make preparations to be sleeping during this period. I know many people, they don't even, this is when they wake up. This is when they get their day started, just about. But this is actually, we should make sure that we're sleeping during this period. For this is the most beneficial time of the entire sleep cycle. It's during this time that our bodies does the all-important task of rebuilding its tissues, be it recharging our body cells and the replacement of dying and dead cells, so that we can have energy in the morning to get through our day. Now that said, if you're already sick or diseased, it becomes imperative that you're sleeping during these hours, for it can literally make the difference between life and death. When one consistently misses this deep sleep cycle, they accrue what is referred to as a sleep debt. That's right, you can literally owe your body sleep. And this debt must be paid, or you will pay the consequences with your health. There are so many people walking around with these sleep debts, and eventually it's going to have a toll on a person's health. A sleep debt essentially speaks to melatonin, which is a hormone that's secreted by the pineal gland when it begins to get dark. And during these hours is when it's excreted the most. And this is why you need to be in bed. When we don't have melatonin in our systems, at the right time, a lot more damage is caused than just a loss of sleep. Having melatonin in our systems at the wrong time of day stresses our cells because it's telling them to pull back and shut down when we need to be active and energetic. You know, that's what the melatonin does. It tells your cells to pull back and shut down. And here it is, you trying to do something, you know, and you're fighting against the body's natural cycle. You start feeling sleepy, your body's working, but you say, the heck with that, I gotta stay up. I gotta work this midnight shift. This is a picture of the pineal gland right here. You may have seen this Egyptian picture around, and now actually this is actually taken from the actual pineal gland. This is where they get this. You know, this is why, you know, the pineal gland is referred to as the third eye. You know, so, and if you see, you know, the corpus callosum, you see here in the diagram that they drew, it's the same thing. You know, and you have the thalamus here making the pupil of the eye, and see the same thing. You know, the medulla oblongata coming down, you know, and the hypothalamus coming down right here. You know, so, you know, you see the same thing, or right here, actually. But, you know, this is where they came up with this, and this is also, you know, was in conjunction with the all-seeing eye, you know, and things of that nature. Now, take note that I said that, you know, the pineal gland doesn't go into action until when? Till it becomes dark. You know, so this is always associated with darkness. You know, and a lot of people, they don't realize that. You know, but this is associated with the dark side, with darkness, because the pineal gland, you know, is most active at night. Now, it secretes melatonin, and melatonin is very, very essential for our bodies. It slows your system down. It causes us to withdraw, to lose alertness and coordination. You know, it's doing so that you'll go to sleep. Now, daytime melatonin causes performance problems, lethargy, and mood disorders. When we don't have melatonin in our systems at the right time, a lot more damage is caused than just the loss of sleep. Melatonin in our systems at the wrong time of day stresses our cells because it's telling them to pull back. You know, when we're trying to be active. This conflict can cause fatigue and immune deficiencies. Since melatonin also causes us to withdraw, to lose alertness and coordination, daytime melatonin causes performance problems. You know, so people are going through the day, and a lot of people are having accidents and making mistakes on the job, and so on and so forth because of this. You know, and they don't realize it. Or, you know, in their everyday life, and they don't realize it. You know, this is why the midnight shift was called the graveyard shift, because it will send you to the graveyard. You know, it's real important to understand this. We don't want to be, you know, operating anything when our body is trying to put us to sleep. You know, because it's kind of like taking a sleeping pill and then saying, okay, I'm about to drive across country. It's not a very smart thing to do, is it?
No.
The effects of sleep deprivation or a sleep debt is irritability, cognitive impairment, mental lapses or loss, impaired moral judgment, severe yawning, hallucinations. Some of the symptoms are similar to ADHD, impaired immune system, risk of diabetes, type 2, increased heart rate, variability, risk of heart disease, increased reaction time, decreased accuracy. So you'll react faster, but you won't be accurate. You know, that's not a good thing. Tremors, aches, you know, as well as growth suppression, risk of obesity, decreased temperature. And another one that's not up here is inflammation. You know, a lot of folks' inflammation is coming from a sleep deficit, a sleep debt. They can't understand why they're in so much pain, but it's because they're overworking themselves. You know, they can't understand, you know, why the inflammation won't go away. It's because they won't decrease the demand on the body. They won't align themselves with Yah's lifestyle. You know, and this is what needs to be done. You know, a sleep debt can occur when a person get too little sleep for many days or weeks. This is how you build up a sleep debt. You know, here it is, you know, you're only getting a little sleep, you know, every day, and so this debt begins to build. You know, and there has been scientific studies that show this. You know, in one study, different groups of people were tested with different sleep times for 2 weeks. Some was given 8 hours, some 6 hours, some 4 hours, and then some just total sleep deprivation. Now, each day they were tested. The test showed that as time went by, each group's performance worsened, with no sign of stopping, with no sign of any stopping point. They just progressively got worse the more sleep they lost. Now, moderate sleep deprivation was found to be detrimental. People who slept 6 hours a night for 10 days had a similar result to those who were completely sleep deprived for 1 day. So think about that. You know, those who only got 6 hours of sleep for 10 days, it was just, they were in the same shape as someone who didn't sleep a whole day. See, and oftentimes we're walking around like that, and we just don't realize it because it becomes the new norm. We've been doing it for so long that we just adapted to it. You know, and so it becomes the new norm. We think we feel all right until we feel better. And then we say, whoa, man, I feel great. You know, you thought you was feeling all right, but then when you actually get some rest, you know, I don't know if any of you had a really good night rest. I pray you have. I pray you can relate to this. You had a good night rest, and you just wake up automatically, no alarm clocks or anything. And when you wake up, you just feel refreshed. You feel like you want to get up and do something.
Rare.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to feel, you know. You know, a lot of people, you know, can't equate to that these days because, you know, their lifestyles prohibit them from getting the proper amount of rest. They have so many things to do that they don't have time to get their proper amount of rest. And they put these heavy loads upon their bodies and think that there's no consequence except for, you know, they're a little sluggish at times. But it's much, much more taking place, you know, behind the scenes, you know, that you don't feel. You're only going to feel symptoms of your lifestyle when your body can't handle it anymore. Your body is going to always seek to adapt and seek to handle these things, you know, to keep you from feeling any symptoms. You know, and that could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. You know, because, you know, here it is, you're doing damage and you don't know. You know, because, you know, the symptom is minimal, so you can just overlook it. It's not that you don't have any, but, you know, it's minimal, so most people just tend to overlook it until symptom comes smack them upside the head that, you know, that really, really gets their attention. From 2 to 6 a.m., our bodies are completing this rest cycle in addition to transitioning into this cleansing cycle. Now, please note that I'm not suggesting that one only sleeps during the hours of 10 and 2 or 11 and 3 in the summer. You know, that's not what I'm saying. And I know somebody's going to come and say, you know, well, you know, that's all I'm sleeping. You said, that's what you said. No. I'm not saying that these are the only hours that you should sleep. Nor am I saying that the remainder of the rest cycle isn't important, because you can get a sleep debt from not sleeping the remaining hours as well. I'm simply stating that the aforementioned hours are the most important hours for sleep. You know, because this is when you can get that deep sleep. This is when the most melatonin is being secreted from the pineal gland. Now, and this lifestyle is in alignment with our body's natural circadian rhythm. which is set in place by Yah at the time when he set the sun and the moon in their place. You know, there's magnetic pulls upon the earth. You know, we all know about gravity that keeps us grounded. You know, but there's also a magnetic pull that's coming from the Van Allen belt and even from the sun. You know, that causes things to grow up rather than grow out. You ever thought why a tree grows up or why we grow up and don't grow out? You know, it's because of that magnetic pull. You know, that's pulling up rather than pulling out. You know, so we want to align ourselves with Yah's lifestyle, which is essential to good health. Its recovery as well as its maintenance is a must, that we have a lifestyle that is, if we're to have a lifestyle that's conducive to good health. Not doing so is a type of sin, i.e. a transgression against Yah's natural law. These natural laws, you know, are powerful and they play a powerful effect in our lives. And most people are just ignorant to them, but ignorance is no excuse. You know, for instance, Yah has an unwritten law of nature that states that we must live on land and not under the water. There's nothing that says, you know, hey, you know, you can't breathe underwater, you know, don't try to live underwater. You know, this is, it's written, but it's written in nature. Anybody who can't swim, you know, will figure that out real quick. You know, even though there's plenty of oxygen within the water, it is against Yah's natural law, which governs our bodies. Likewise, it's against his natural law for much of the marine life to utilize the oxygen from the air. Their body is adapted to utilizing the oxygen from the water. The results of one going against the lifestyle of Yah that Yah set in place in this manner is easier for us to imagine than what we've been discussing. You can easily see that, you know, if a fish is out the water, he's going to die. And if we try to breathe underwater, we're going to die. You know, it's real easy to see, you know, versus the things that we've been discussing. But these things that we've been discussing, you know, I assure you, the results are quite similar. They may not be as expedient, but they're quite similar. Remember, a curse causes shall not come. You know, these things have a dramatic effect on our lives. You know, when we eat at the wrong time, when we eat the wrong things, you know, when we going against these natural processes that's taking place in our bodies. You know, when we want to, you know, Yah say, when he turn off the lights, go to bed, you know, but man too smart for that. He create his own light. Yah turns off the lights, man say, I'll turn on my own light. You think that's not having an effect on your body? Sure it is. It's having a great effect on your body. You know, and if you lead this lifestyle, you'll see that it's really automatic. You know, around 10 o'clock, you'll naturally, you know, get sleepy. The melatonin will start secreting, and it'll start pulling everything, drawing everything back. And won't nobody have to tell you what time it is. You can just about guess what time it is. I always try to guess the time without looking at it. You know, because I can feel the effects on my body. You know, my wife would ask me, she'll say, well, what time is it? I say, well, it feels like it's about 10 o'clock. Then I say, look on your phone, what time is it? And I'll be real close. You know, it may be 9:55 or 10:05 or something like that. You know, these things are real. And they have a real effect on our bodies. So, you know, we need to really take heed to that. We can't seriously expect to become well while living in sin. And it doesn't matter if that sin is against Yah's scriptural sin or against Yah's natural laws. You know, you think you can break Yah's natural laws and there be no effect? No, it's not going to happen. Matter of fact, you really can't break them. You can only break yourself on them. You know, which is the same thing with Yah's scriptural laws. People think they're breaking his scriptural laws, but actually they're breaking themselves on them. You know, the same thing with these natural laws. Try not breathing for a while. you know, and see if you can break that law. Do it long enough, all you're going to do is break yourself on it. You're not really going to break the law because the law still exists for everybody else, you know, you need to breathe. You know, so these things contradict Yah's laws when we live a lifestyle that's go against these things, you know. And it doesn't matter. Yah's law is Yah's law, whether it's written in scripture or whether it's written in nature. You know, both sets need to be adhered to if we're to become well. You know, a lot of Yah's saints don't become well because they don't take these things into account. You know, there are so many things that can be done to bring your body back into a state of health. You know, even after the doctor says that there's nothing else they can do. Well, there's nothing else they can do. There's a whole lot you can do. You know, there's a whole lot you can do. You can start living your life in a manner that's conducive to good health. You can start repenting and converting from the sins of Yah's word as well as the sins of Yah's nature. You know, and get back in line with him. Because when he made us very good. And guess what? We're still very good. We're still very good. But we have to do things the way that he initiated, the way that he made it to go. And not the way that we choose. That's all I have for you today. I pray it was a blessing unto you. And at this time, we'll take any questions.